well, lockdown, and it definitely is affecting content for newspapers or the dailies. Mama V, good morning to you.
Well, good morning, Roland Walker. I mean, who would want to go out there and go and buy newspapers? Will they even accept that you're just getting out of your home to go and buy newspapers?
Yeah.
There was a video of a woman, a restaurant owner, whose dispatch rider had been stopped. He apparently had an ID card, but the police, whoever was there checking, was asking for a permit. And she was just wondering if, in addition to the ID card, you needed a permit to pass. Somebody had ordered for 1 kinky fish and was just frustrating the whole process. So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm just even wondering, the Daily Graphic and the Times, they are still producing. There's the New Crusading Guide as well. So a few of them are producing, but if they don't, it will be understandable. I mean, who is going to buy? Yeah,
Definitely.
Wow. But it's still the Resurrection Month. We've all forgotten that this is April. It's the Resurrection Month.
We're supposed to have Easter, right?
Yes, yes. We will still have Easter. I mean, we may not celebrate it like the way we usually would do. But, you know, yeah, still the Resurrection Month. Nothing is taking that away.
Yeah.
And let's expect a miracle.
Yes. Somebody expecting a miracle is a good friend of mine. Not
Roland.
Not Salifu Combat. He's always in a miracle mood. But Rebecca Sapak, good morning to you, as well as for you and your son as well, Evan. And Evan, Nana, have a good morning as well. Be under lockdown, but always be cautious.
Okay, so let's jump straight into what we have. I have the Daily Graphic. I've got the Times as well. Roland will do the one paper that he's got locked down in his hands right now. That's the New Crusading Guide. So let's begin with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Front page of the Graphic. Minimizing COVID-19 impacts, government rescues vulnerable Kayaye to get meals, accommodation and stipends. Comes with a picture of Mrs. Cynthia Mamle Morrison, the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection. She was one of the ministers who spoke yesterday at that minister's briefing, telling us about the cover that the ministry has for the most vulnerable in our society. Remember those Kaya were traveling to the north, were stopped in Kumasi. Well, they've been accommodated. They've been receiving food. So now food is going to go around. I think they're targeting about some 15,000 people who are most vulnerable in our society. So that's certainly good news. President household test negative for COVID-19 also came out of that briefing. We saw the president's personal physician make the announcement and say some 99 persons within the presidency have all tested negative. Parliament approves $35 million World Bank facility for COVID-19. APSA hollered a gift to COVID-19 funds. So we've seen in recent days quite a number of corporate organizations who are giving. They are not necessarily working because this is not a period where any business will thrive really. Businesses are shutting, but we've seen them come forward to make donations for a certain cause, which is actually very important. In the center spread, Vice President donates to stranded Kayaye. Council of State support fights against COVID-19. Rich Hospital Emergency Center reopened. Now, that's some details that you'll be interested in. So let's share a bit of that in the center spread of the Daily Graphic. The emergency center, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, has reopened after it was closed down for disinfection following an unexpected visit to the center by someone infected with the COVID-19, thereby exposing health professionals there to the risk of infection. Briefing the Daily Graphic yesterday, the medical director of the facility, Dr. Emmanuel Stropanyo, said the center was closed to the public for almost 5 days for thorough disinfection to make it safe for both staff and patients. Well, he says here, quote, "We are satisfied to note that the environment has been sterilized and the emergency center reopened and now fully operational." That brings into mind a conversation that we're having here on the AM show, Ask the AM Doctor. So we're dealing with a pandemic, and as much as possible, we're asking people to stay at home. In fact, most of you are at home. If you have any underlying illness, we're told you're most susceptible to getting this virus if you expose yourself to somebody who has it or to an environment where it exists. And so we're trying to figure out, how do you manage what you already have? Maybe you're diabetic, maybe you have some kind of illness. How do you control it so that your visit to the hospital is less? Because right now the facilities are taking care of something that is deadly. You know, we're not saying any other disease is less, but this one, there's no cure. They're trying to figure out how to deal with it. So you really are not too comfortable even going to the hospital when you have any other illness. So how do you tone it down? If you have any chronic disease around this time, how do you manage it? We've got our AM doctor on standby this morning after 8. We'll engage him and we'll get you to talk to him. He's a cardiologist and he's a great man. He'll take all your questions. So get ready for that on a Healthy Thursday. Ask the AM doctor. All right, on the back page of the Daily Graphic, Ghana Water donates to 4 hospitals. The Ghana Water Company has distributed 500 packs of bottled water produced by the company to 4 hospitals in Accra to support medical practitioners in the front line of the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, local government ministry disinfects 105 markets in Upper East. Some 105 markets in 15 districts in the Upper East region have been disinfected as part of measures by the government to curb the spread of the coronavirus disease that has affected some parts of the country. The exercise was undertaken by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development with support from the National Mosquito Control Program, a subsidiary of the Jospon Group. Well, that exercise continues today. Roland Walker has got a bit of details on that to share with us.
Well, definitely. Today, we're in Tamale, and we will look at the number of actions that will be undertaken by the disinfection team. And of course, we know that this is being done by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development in collaboration with Zoomlion Ghana and the rest of the waste subsidiaries of the Jospon Group, as well as other allied service providers within the industry countrywide. So it is where it started in Accra, and then they went to Kumasi, the Ashanti regional capital, went to Bono and Bono East regions, and now they are in northern Ghana. Yesterday, we brought to you the situation in the Upper West regional capital and also the Upper East region. Albert Sori, as well as the man, Rafiq Salam, were on board to make sure that that coverage was summarized for you by the close of the day. Today, we are in Tamale. Okay,
so that's the update. We'll bring you live visuals from their live reports on the ground as well on the progress of the exercise. Now, let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper, front page of the Ghanaian Times. Here we go. President, First Lady, others test negative for COVID-19. Also, 40 COVID-19 contacts quarantined in Tamale. Ghana's COVID-19 cases jump to 195. COVID-19 update, private burials increase in Accra due to ban on large funerals because of the lockdown. In the center, spread details of the front page headlines. So the president's and 99 other persons, including his daughters, members of the household and staff, have tested negative for the coronavirus. There's a picture of Dr. Patricia Techiankra, who is the president's physician, as she made the announcement there at a press briefing yesterday. Private burials, the bit about private burials increasing. So more families, according to this story in the center spread of the Times, more families in the Greater Accra region have resorted to the use of private burials for the dead relatives following the the ban on mass funerals in the country. On the average, 30 bodies are released from a number of mortuaries to families for burial weekly. All right, so about 30 every week doing the private burial. And then there's also Hope Prison. According to this story, the Hope Prison has since last week shut its gates to new convicts in a move to prevent COVID-19 from entering its walls, according to the Deputy Director of Prisons in charge of the Volta region. Prison authorities have begun negotiation with the law courts to secure bail for some remand prisoners as part of measures to further decongest the correctional center. If you go elsewhere outside Ghana, you see or you would hear that VIPs, so celebrities making the case, celebrities who are in prison making the case that they are afraid they will get COVID-19 and trying to make a case so that they can stay out of prison and serve the rest of their prison sentences at home or something of the sort. On the back page of the Times, Upper East, Upper West markets, lorry parks disinfected. Roland gave us a brief on this. We're in Tamale today. Also, the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources is providing hand washing items and materials nationwide in support of the fight against the spread of COVID-19, according to Madam Cecilia Dapa, who is the Sector Minister. So details there on the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. I was super excited, Roland, about the news item that we carried. We told the story about Nima, and the spotlight was on a certain family and a woman who would go and wash for people and make her daily bread. Has a number of people at home that she caters for as well. And after we told that story, we got help, breakfast being provided, which is really, 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 really good. So we see, because, you know, we say humanity, right?
Yes.
And we say be there for each other. There are plenty of people who don't have. And if you're privileged to have, you have to share.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I hope that all of us are doing our bit, trying to help those around us. And that's where we transition to do the new Crusading Guide, the last paper. And Akufo-Addo test negative for COVID-19, not only him, the rest of his family. We're told that the whole team, presidential team, they've all started the test. COVID-19 panic at Spinters. Residents agitate over TT Affairs Isolation Center. Has come under scrutiny as well. We will ensure COVID-19 free Ghana, George Anda says. Donate hospital equipment, materials to fight the virus. And summarily, Mamavi, that's what I have.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
Right.
So we'll spend a bit of time on myjoyonline.com. We'll do the BBC and do the CNN as well, in terms of appreciating how international media is reporting COVID-19 has taken over everything these days. So this is myjoyonline.com, and our top story: Burkina Faso, Guinea refused to receive citizens who tested positive for coronavirus in Ghana. That's a curious one. It says Ghana is facing a diplomatic hurdle as it attempts to repatriate Burkinabe and Guinean citizens who tested positive for coronavirus in Tamale. Northern Regional Minister Salifu Said has disclosed that authorities in Guinea are reluctant to receive 8 of their citizens who tested positive for coronavirus in Ghana. The 8 Guineans have been quarantined in Tamale. Here's a quote picked from the story. Our headache is that the Guinea authorities are saying they will not agree for us to return them. On quotes. This was the minister speaking on Wednesday. Also, 2 Burkinabes remain in quarantine in Ghana as their home country threatened to return Ghanaians who are critically ill in their country and receiving treatment, not necessarily because they've contracted COVID-19. So that's our headache right now with this situation. But just down there, you still want to remain in Tamale, because something interesting came up yesterday. Because as you know, prostitution is not legal in this country. In fact, it is in our criminal books. So it was interesting to hear the Northern Regional Minister place a ban on an act that's already illegal. That story is also on myjoyonline.com. Northern Regional Security Council bans already outlawed prostitution.
That was quite interesting. Yeah.
So we know they operate and we know where they are, but we didn't deal with them. We waited for COVID to come and then we raise our hands and say, we place the ban on you. That's not good. I mean, that's like just exposing the fact that you haven't done your work well. I'm sorry, but that's just what it means. Because you can't, you know the thing is outlawed, right? And then you still, you see it happen, and then you suddenly wake up and say, I placed the ban on it. But it's one of the interesting pictures, make it real. Still on myjoyonline.com, DC accuses police of assault in lockdown in Kumasi. We've got ASP Godwin Ahianyo on our show this morning, live from Kumasi. There's another officer joining us. I'll mention his name, and then we've got Accra as well. So we'll put some of
ACP Ajimai.
Yes, on our show this morning. So we've got the police will be allowing you to interact. It's not us interacting with them because, you know, some of the things you go through, we don't see it. So
Definitely.
we will let you interact with them.
Great interactivity right here on the show.
Exactly. Let's go back to myjoyonline.com. Let's run through the rest of the stories on our page. Ghana's COVID-19 cases now 195. Video of civilian hitting a military man happened in 2019. That was last year, according to the Ghana Armed Forces. Parliament approves $10.1 million tax waiver for Fly Zipline drone project. 48-hour window preceding lockdown was necessary, according to Okoboy, Member of Parliament. He is also chair of the Kolebu board. Airbus scandal, special prosecutor's invitation of witnesses is just noise, according to Inisa Husseini. And then the COVID-19 Trust Fund bill laid before Parliament for approval, which is interesting because Parliament could approve by close of day today the COVID-19 Trust Fund bill, which was laid before Parliament last night by the Attorney General. The bill will give legal backing to the fund to receive donations for onward distribution to needy persons. So that's the story. These are the stories that we have on myjoyonline.com. We've got some stories with videos as well. You might, want to get there and explore. Roland?
Well, definitely. Let's go to the BBC. They have live updates as to related lockdown situations in Africa. We have Rwanda's coronavirus lockdown extended. The cabinet approves extension of restrictive measures by 2 weeks as the cases rise. We expect an extension here in Ghana too. That's one thing. Sometimes I say my extension. Look, but we have top South Africa HIV scientist dies. We're talking about Dr. Gita Ramji for her world-renowned research into HIV prevention. But it's in Kenya where we have a COVID-19 survivor saying the virus is beatable. Look, we have it under lockdown, they say, and that's in Kenya. And a young woman who was Kenya's first reported case of coronavirus says she has fully recovered. And people tend to exhibit various symptoms, and how their body is able to combat the virus varies from person to person. And these are some of the related issues that we can talk about when it comes to coronavirus. Let's go up, go up, go up, go up. Okay, so the summary of other news, but it is the United Kingdom that we'll go to. This one, this link directly sent to me by my good friend Benjamin Tufomenu, who lives in the UK on St. Smithers, and all of us have been alarmed. We don't usually go to Sky, but Sky is indicating 563 more COVID-19 deaths in UK as Boris Johnson admits, that's the Prime Minister of England is admitting that, look, more is needed. More is needed to be done. And so far, according to the estimates, we have 2,352 deaths in the United Kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah, so now you know how it looks like here in our country and elsewhere, what the newspapers are reporting today. We have to bring you sports, but before we go, I want to tell you that we have Ask the AM Doctor coming up this morning after our police conversation. That's also going to be very interactive. We've got Dr. Joseph Akama, who is a cardiologist. Your health needs, particularly at this time, the WHO boss has said something that even though we are in the midst of a crisis, essential health services must continue. Babies are still being born, vaccines must be delivered, and people still need life-saving treatment for a range of other diseases. How do you minimize what you already have so you don't quickly go to a hospital or a healthcare facility, particularly at this time? That's what we're focusing on. We'll bring you sport. Benedict has promised us another workout. In fact, he's promised workout throughout this lockdown. So we've got another Benedict. Roland?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's coming up in sports. Stay with us.
We'll be right back.